First, let me pay a little bit of homage to Cynthia and to give some counsel. So, what do you actually do when you have the fire hose and wait a second, I can't let this go by? So, I want to repeat what Amanda said. Go back to the recording. This is the opposite on your podcast. You know, the ones that you kind of speed up to 1.5 or 2 times, right? Because you really just kind of in the back. This is the opposite. Slow it down. It was really, really gold. And I'll tell you, even if you don't have some of the issues she's talked about, you know someone or you will know someone that will. So one of the things that Tammy and I do, and I'm married to an amazing, amazing diamond, Tammy Walton, we do is we'll capture some of the stuff. We share a bunch of Google Docs. And so we try to keep them short, but they just have titles of what they're for. And so we keep that in a little folder. It's just our self-help folder of things in someone, because you always get these questions. What do I do for this? Well, I'm sorry, I'm not even in the same league as Cynthia and Jim Bob. So what do I do when I get these questions? Well, let me tell you one thing that diamonds do. This is our first tip on diamonds. They handle the questions that no one else wants to answer. So on this call, there's only one Cynthia. So what do the rest of us do? All we do is take notes. And what you'll find out is when you answer the same question 27 times, you actually, after the 28th time, you almost get an idea, you know a little bit about what the answer is. That's one of the things that differentiates the diamonds from the other ranks, because the other ranks keep bucking the question up. So one of the things I really encourage you is listen to what she said, take notes again, and then file the notes. Use electronically so you don't lose them, because you're going to get those questions again. My teenage son, the hormones are going crazy. Well, you've seen that question now 10 times. If you start answering it, you will become an expert on how to help someone with a teenage son. You will. And then and what we'll do, by the way, when we hear something new, a new protocol or some new ideas, we put those on the bottom of the doc, and we keep adding to the doc over time so that we just get to where we're pretty good at it. Not because we became Cynthia. We didn't. We just learned from them, and we didn't want to forget. It's one of the biggest things that I find that the diamonds do that I'm around. They just learn faster than we do. Not because they're smarter, they just learn faster. And that means when they make mistakes, they learn. And that's one of the things I wanted to throw that tip out. Now, that was for Cynthia. I want to make sure she got that accolades, because she certainly earned them and deserved them. She gave a ton load of information. It was too much in the sense of just being able to write notes. So you got to go back. All right. What are we doing tonight? So yes, I'm the pinch hitter for tonight. So keep that in mind as you're kind and generous during your questions. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have a panel, and I'll introduce them in a moment. And these are the folks that almost all of them we have one special one we'll talk about in a moment. As she tries not to smile. All of them were in Salt Lake City last week for a New Year kickoff. Now, there was a very small gathering in September, but this would be the very first time that anyone has gotten together with corporate in almost 2 years. And I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. So these people traveled to Salt Lake on their own expense, by the way, to get there, and spent 2 days with corporate and with Kristen Boss. You've seen a lot of the reports coming back, but there is nothing like hearing from them live what it was like to be with their teams, what it was like to be here in corporate, what it was like to be in the Salt Palace again, what it was like to go through that, and having them share that with you, especially as y'all, okay, should I really go to convention? Is there going to be the next variant after that? What they learned, what they experienced, and what you ought to see when you were thinking of going to convention and when your team was thinking of going to convention. Okay, so we wanted to bring that to you. Now, so I'm going to ask questions, which is my strength, and I'm going to introduce them first. So first, it just happens to be the top of my list. You see Jill Sager. Jill's getting a chance. And for those that I'm going to call on, if you don't have yourselves off of mute, just have your fingers near, because you have no idea who I'm going to call on next. So that's my fair warning to my team. We talked about Donna Weissong, who has been so generous. She's actually helped recruit some of the players. I really appreciate that. Amy Duffy is going to be on, and Sarah Kessler. And then Lindsay Tuttle did make it. So she is on here as well. So that's great. I will make sure I add that. Now, I wanted to add one more, and because Amanda is going to be on. And here's the really cool thing. Amanda didn't get to go. So we're going to get a chance to hear from someone who suffered a little bit of SOMO, sad on missing out. And so we're getting a chance to what was it like to go through the conference, but doing it visually. As it turned out, Tammy and I, for the exact same reasons, we couldn't go. We were just recovering from COVID, and we're just thankful that we stayed home and had the privilege of watching a lot of wonderful recording. But we weren't able to go either. So we're going to talk about that. All right, pause. Everybody with me so far? We're just going to ask questions. I will do a minimal level of monitoring the chat window. So if you do have questions you want to ask, I will do my best to bring them in with no promises whatsoever. All right, let's go from I'm going to go from the middle of the group. Donna, let's start there with you. You knew I was going to start there, Donna. You just
of course,
knew.
why not?
Of course, you get the first question. All right. So just high level, we're going to start out with the easy ones first. What was it like to be with people that your friends, your teams, your uplines, your sidelines, your downlines? What was it like to be there?
I'm going to tell you, I didn't realize how much I missed and how much I needed this till we were sitting at opening breakfast. Y'all, like, they hadn't even started speaking yet. Mike runs off the stage and high-fiving everybody, and I could just feel the tears just streaming. And I'm like, I didn't even realize I had this much emotion stored up. Like, to say that you need to be around your people is an understatement. And then to have not been around them for 2 years and all of that emotion bottled up, to now know that you're in a safe place, to know that you're like-minded with the people around you, knowing that the next 2 days holds who knows what, except for it's going to be amazing. It's going to be life-changing, and that it's not only going to affect you, but your entire team and people who aren't even on your team yet. Just undescribable. I knew I wanted my team at convention before this, and now I am all but begging them to be there.
I appreciate it so much. Lindsay, one of the things that I know what you and I have talked a lot about, as almost all the folks that are presenting here, is this concept around relationship building. So 2 years, we have been working on our relationships over the internet, over Zoom. I'm sorry, we haven't had a choice. But Lindsay, you got a chance to actually go and work on your relationship in person. What was it like being able to do that? Not just pressing flesh, but actually work on your relationships in person. And Lindsay, and you're on mute, by the way.
Eric, were you talking to me?
I was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No worries.
It took me a few minutes to hop on. Hold on one sec. I might need my toddler by me. It was so great to be able to have the experience of seeing everybody in person, and build on those relationships. I had the opportunity to go to Diamond Bound a couple months ago. So that was starting to, see people, be around people. But it was just such a good reminder that nothing compares to that in-person community, and getting to those big events and getting to it's just a tangible energy that, I love being able to share online and connect with people online, but nothing compares to being in person and getting to have, to touch and hear and just be present for all of that.
Appreciate that, Lindsay. So Sarah, this all seems obvious. Of course, it'd be great if we all got to be there in person. But Sarah, we're trying to get people and trying to help them with the decision to go to convention. And I'm sorry, I looked out the window and there's still Omicron outside the window. We're going to get real tonight, okay? Nothing has changed. There's still people with the virus getting it today. So Sarah, you're trying to convince people to go to convention in June. How are you helping with that, with the experience you had in Salt Lake last week?
Well, Eric, thankfully, Young Living is sensitive to the people who are looking out that window and seeing Omicron and going, yep, not interested. And they are trying to make it easy for everybody to get there. So what I would suggest is, if you can make it to convention physically, go to the farm, see everybody from all over the country, hug all the necks, get there. If you can't, for whatever reason, get a group of people together where you're going to watch convention at the same time with your digital ticket. Maybe invite one or two people over into your home, or make it a point to have a conversation going in some form or another, like Marco or on the messenger or through text, where as you're watching convention, you can be building some sort of excitement and energy just from those conversations. Because when something is exciting happening around you, you want to talk about it immediately, and you want to have somebody who is excited with you give you that excited feedback. So create that situation. If you can't physically get to convention, create it. Do not miss out on it. But if you can make it, like, go. You definitely want to go to the farm. You definitely want to go see the museum, the Young Living History Museum that they're putting all this time and energy and effort into. You want to go see the corporate office. It's gorgeous. And you definitely want to see all your friends.
We're talking about these relationships, and we're talking about, we talk about, obviously we all want to be in person. Of course we do, but we all can't be. So wait a second. So Sarah just helps a little bit. Hey, you get a chance to be really helpful to every single person on your team. Those that can go should go. Those that can't go, we're going to accommodate them. Well, one of the things that we do is we actually do have an assigned person for each workshop to do their notes. And then I love Sarah's idea. Okay, yeah, you're going to have the assigned person, but let's add other people's notes to it as well. I think that is, again, it's the collection and it's the collaboration that really helps. So in June, there absolutely will be some people from your team that will not be able to go to convention. Right now, we're going to make a lot of pitches trying to get as many people there as we can, but some will not be able to make it. So instead of having them be orphans, right, which is in some years, that's what you felt like when you didn't get to go, everyone else got the magic. This is the part that we have to change. And this is the part that Young Living is trying to help us with by offering this virtual and in-person attendance. How are we going to change that? How are we going to make, like, when we were watching, there was a chat window. We actually, I would have the video. I have a big screen. I have the video on the left, and I had the chat window with the Platinums and Diamonds on the right. So I'm like listening and monitoring everyone's comments. Oh my gosh, did you just hear that? And like at the same time, I'm feeding some. My wife and I were doing this together because sometimes I would miss something, sometimes she'd miss something. So what are we going to do to really bring that kind of experience to all of our team members in June? So you all see we're trying to connect this. I want to talk about the New Year kickoff, but I want you to see this as a real opportunity to learn from people who just did it. What does it look like to have a mixed, a hybrid event? What does it look like to do that, and how to bring the value of a hybrid event to your team? We talked about what the workshops mean when you're not there and you're watching them versus what Jill's going to do when she is there, planning events for her team. By the way, there's lots of people from your team there. So it's not just having one big dinner, it's having multiple events, seeing different people, different groups, different one-on-ones, utilizing your time while you're there as best you can, right? And really making sure that you're having the maximum impact. And I think it's a big deal. What's one thing that was such a huge takeaway that a week later you still remember? Y'all know what I'm talking about. The day later, you start to forget 80%. 3 days later, you can barely remember you're in Salt Lake City. So Amy, what's that one thing that you still remember from one of the speakers, from Kristen Boss, whatever? What's one thing that you remember?
I don't really know that anyone said this, but the one takeaway that I had was that, and I hope that everyone has on this call tonight, is that you are okay. We are going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. And that has just permeated my heart more than anything. I think we have not been okay.
And she's doing an Amanda. There must be a power tool going on in the background, right?
Ways. My mom broke her shoulder right before, this whole pandemic, with everyone and to hear from everyone and just know that we are going to be okay.
So y'all hear what she just said, how important that is. So again, we're trying to be real tonight. Please, 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 no one pretend that there hasn't been a pandemic. No one pretend that there hasn't been Q or Modair or Amare, that people haven't had to change their plans. Do not pretend that hasn't happened. I'm not trying to get down. I'm not trying to be negative. but you can't pretend that. But here's the reality. They are going to come and go. I'm going to give you this ridiculous heads up. There's going to be another MLM that'll take somebody next year that we haven't even heard of yet. But we are going to remain here. Our products, I mean, this is the thing that's so crazy. Our products are beyond approach, or I should say reproach, right? They're beyond reproach. There's nothing comparable out there in the marketplace. So no matter what happens on your teams, the tops of legs leaving, all this negative stuff, we're going to just turn this all around, speaking life into our business. We're going to be okay. Haven't been here for 27 years for nothing. Haven't built a multi-billion-dollar business and not been okay. There's going to be a pivot, right? Things are going to happen. Things are going to change this year. We've already been through massive IT issues. We're still okay today. And I think, when I think about that, Amy, such a sense of peace comes from that when you share that. And I really, really appreciate that. It's funny. I have a product that I have on my subscribe to save with Amazon. And 3 months ago, they said, sorry, we don't have any supply. Well, okay, no big deal. Well, the next month comes, they didn't have supply again the next month. Well, I'm kind of whining and complaining now. Third month comes, I really need this thing, right? I mean, this is the reason I'm doing it. And they don't have a supply again. So I never like looking at the alternatives. Y'all hear where I'm going with this, right? Here's suggested, I kind of like the brand that I get. So I buckled up and I bought something different. And it turned out it was okay. So what are you going to do to overcome the challenges that everyone in your team faces at any given time? And I'm talking about Amazon, right? I did that on purpose. I'm talking about the number one online retailer in the world did not have my simple little box product for 3 months in a row. I actually turned it off. I just didn't want to wait. I just turned it off. But I still needed what I was getting. So I just had to figure it out. So what are you doing to help your team figure it out? What are you helping your team to do something different about the blend they can't get, or to have replacements for some of the oils that they have? So that this thing, taking ownership over that. So ownership was one of the big things that I definitely took away. Let's talk about Kristen Boss for a second. She was certainly the highlight in the sense of the guest speaker. She had a wonderful reputation, and she certainly is got a big name. Okay, big deal. She's just another talker, but she had some really big pearls of wisdom to throw out. Donna, what's something you took away from Kristen that you'd like to share here?
She basically said, what are you waiting for? And stop waiting. The question that I have down, I have it circled, I have it starred, all of the things. She said, how does the diamond version of me lead and show up? What does that version of me do? Why am I waiting to get this title to start acting in this role that I'm wanting? And it just really hit home. Like there's a lot of the things I am already doing, but there was some things that I didn't feel worthy. I don't have that title. But to my team, a title is just another word. My team members still come to me with the questions. My team members still come to me with my favorite product is out of stock. What do I do now? My team already sees me as that diamond. So why am I not showing up? That was number one take home. Yes, Jill, thanks. How does the next rank? So for any of you all, the next rank, it doesn't have to be diamond. How does the next rank version of you show up?
Mm-hmm. So powerful. So powerful. Let's go another one. Amy, one thing you picked up from Kristen Boss.
I wasn't ready for that. I'm sorry. I loved how she described all of the years, saying that 2020 was the year of the heat of disruption. People became woke to the business model. And there was a ton of recruitment. And if you look at those people in 2020 that became Young Living members, became Young Living customers, how many of them are you still, it made me think about things like how many of them are you still in contact with? 2021 is the year of great resignation. The people who shook out were the ones who prioritized things or chose something else, and that's okay. Say goodbye and move on. And 2022 is the year of leader emergence. Hello, everybody on this call tonight. This is the year of leader emergence for you, for sure, because you are here and you are ready to go forward. The other thing that I love that she said is drop the hustle, and put others in its place. Be consistent, be intentional, be there, those types of things. So she was just amazing. I took so much from her.
And Sarah, what'd you pick up from Kristen?
A lot of the things that everybody was saying, just the difference between being a manager and being a leader. I liked how she defined them. So she defined a manager as somebody who's conditional circumstance ownership, somebody who has reactive problem solving skills, somebody whose drive comes from the external. Like if somebody else motivates me to do this, I will do it. They have an action reaction type game plan going on. If something happens, then they react to it. And that's where their action comes from. And all their thinking is really stuck in short term. Whereas you flip to a leader and you see a leader has radical result ownership. They're proactive problem solvers. They have that internal drive to do what they want to do. And that's something that Jill has in her Grow Group, is like getting to that 7th level of why. That's where you can dig out and you can get that internal drive for yourself and just not let what could be a small speed bump become a brick wall that stops you from building your business. Leaders also evaluate what happened, they refine their processes, and then they implement those better systems. And their actions are all involved around long-term thinking. So I liked that she defined the two of them. So you could look at yourself and you could say, which one am I falling into more? And how can I make that shift into a leader? And then also look through your brand partners in your organization and see who is stuck in management mode, who is actually a leader, and how can I help them shift into that leadership mentality?
Brilliant. Obviously, this is one of my favorite topics. It's interesting, Sarah, that I love the manager versus leader. The other one that I liked is when she talked about leaving a leadership legacy. And just real powerful. Let me talk about this for a second, because one of the big differences is this is the year of developing other leaders. This is the year that you have to do that. And here's the reason simply why. You can't grow your business without it. So one of the things that a lot of people, some people that really fought their way almost by themselves to hit silver, but there are no solo golds. There are no platinums that got there by themselves, and you can't make the diamond, crown, or royal without a team. You can't get there with other leaders. So she talked about, let me explain, the definition of leadership is influence, right out of John Maxwell. The measurement of a leader are the leaders they leave behind. So this is where you got to be thinking about, who are the people that you're developing right now? And if the answer comes up, I can't think of anyone. In fact, I don't have anyone on my team who's even doing the business. So what are you going to do about that? Right from where Jill was talking before, what are you going to do about that to change that? What are you going to do to help that star really get to senior star? Because you're going to help them with some tools and techniques so they can grow their management skills, run the business, but start to develop them as leaders so that they are future silvers, future diamonds. What are you going to do right now, this month, this week, today to make that difference? So cool. One of the things I took away, especially when the corporate people were presenting, it seems like every time I watch a new recording, there's some new faces. And sometimes, I'm being honest, that can be a little bit discouraging to me. Like, what happened to Mary? What happened to Bob? And they're gone already. So let me say one thing, and then I'm going to pick it back up. Here's the harsh reality of the corporate world today. And oh, by the way, Young Living is a corporation like all others. There's going to be people that move through Young Living. They may move on to other MLMs. They move on to bigger jobs. They're just going to move through. And that is the nature of the corporate world, because remember, they're employees. They don't own their own business like we do. So they're going to go through this process, get what they want, make what they want. They don't have any stock in this private company. It's a family-owned company, and they move on. So what you have to do is you have to start to learn to have what I call manageable relationships with these folks, because you want to make sure that you have some influence with corporate, but you're not going to live or die with my relationship with Jared. Oh, I'm sorry, he's gone. So you can't go that direction. But then something different happened. I really, really enjoyed having Jacob on stage this time. Now, in times past, he was one of the children, which means he would sing or do some dance or fly across the stage. And that was fun because that was Gary and Mary's son. Well, this was different this time. This was the first time that Jacob was now a part of the team. And here's someone, by the way, who by definition spent 20 years with Gary. Well, I didn't spend 20 years with Gary. He did. And so you started to see that. Now, by the way, Jacob's not going to run the company tomorrow. But what you saw was someone that I could put my alignment with, because this is not corporate entity for him. This is his family's business. He will be there in 5, 10, 20, or 30 years from now. And his brother will too. I mean, and I know that. So that's a really big difference. And I mean, Prasad was sick, so I didn't get a chance to see him. I love some of the people that spoke. I really love some of these people so much. But I started to align with Jacob for the first time. And when he prayed, oh my gosh, I'm like, what the heck? I really was able to connect with that. Amy, talk to me about that for a second. What was like to be part, because I was not there. So that's part of the energy that I didn't get a chance. What was it like when he prayed and filled that room that way?
It was very moving for me. I've been with Young Living it'll be 8 years next month. And I've attended a lot of conventions, and Gary used to pray. Gary would pray over a session before he started, or over our meal before we ate, or, something like that. And I had missed that. For me personally, it's a big part of why I love Young Living so much, because I know what they're founded on. And when he stood up to pray, it just makes my voice quiver now. I wept because I could feel it. I could feel his heart in the prayer, and I could also feel his nerves a little bit. And I just know that he wanted to, bless us with that prayer. And that's huge. There aren't many companies that do that kind of thing and that are really founded in faith and will show it and aren't afraid to show it. And I loved that about Gary. I loved it about Mary. And now I can love it about Jacob. And it was really, I recorded it. It was really, it was really inspiring for me and just heartwarming.
Thank you so much. I really saw his dad at that. Lindsay, we keep talking about we've had Amanda talk about we're going to be okay. Now we're talking about Jacob and the future of the company. So Lindsay, what did you take away from the future of the company, Lindsay? Going forward, we haven't met in 2 years. We got to hold hands, come by. Great, that's all right. But looking forward, where do you see us going, Lindsay?
Well, I felt so relieved by it. I mean, I've felt that way anyways, but after that first day together, I really felt Young Living conveyed how they're always thinking ahead. And I was going to share to even what was in regards to Jacob praying. I come from like the post Gary era of starting my business, and just getting to hear the stories and getting connected to that wisdom and just the legacy of the company has always just given me so much peace about where it's going because of the legacy of it. And just what has happened over time, I don't see anything else like that. So I just felt really just assured of moving forward, and just that they're always looking for our feedback. They're looking for us to always build on communication. They're working on building the customer experience, getting that set up and improving that experience. So I really feel like they are thinking ahead. They're really looking to how can we continue to leverage, and that just gave me so much peace and confidence with just continuing to move forward.
So thank you so much, Lindsay. I couldn't agree more. And what I wanted to do tonight, I didn't want it to feel fake. I didn't want it to feel like rah, rah, rah. And I think you really heard from people's hearts tonight. So we're getting closer to the end. If you have a question, I'm going to pretend to look over the chat. So if you have a question, I will do my best to try to get there. We got the people that they've already been, they don't have a choice now, they're on. So if you got a question, go for it. I want to do one last thing. So we talk about our word for the year. If you had to think of just one word coming out of last week, just one word. I'm going to give you, by the way, none of these people know the question I was going to ask, by the way. That's why Jill's laughing. Oh my gosh, I hate Eric so much. Just one word, all right? Just one word, if you had to think about it. And I got everyone on the screen that has been talking. So whoever wants to go first, you have to raise your hand. One word that just is on your mind coming out of last week. Go ahead, Amy.
I'm going first because if somebody else says my word, then I'm in trouble, right? And I am stealing a word because I had struggled with a word. I typically have a word for the year and, and I had been struggling, but when I heard the panel say their word, I'm stealing Andrew Armstrong's word, winning. Stealing it, I'm having it. It's my word of the year in all aspects of my life. The Live on Purpose team is winning. And it just, the way he went about his talks every single time, if you get to watch tidbits of them that people shared, watch them again, because he wants us to win in this business. And he wants Young Living to win, and Young Living is winning, right? You saw lots of companies close their doors when all of this stuff has happened over the last 2 years. Not Young Living. We are winning, and you guys all need to go home tonight. I mean, somebody else will probably have really good words too, but winning.
Such a great word, Amy. So this is my help to everyone else, because I'm going to call on each of you to have your own word. I want to talk about Andrew just for a second. So I had that comment about corporate. I don't want to be so cavalier. I want to talk about Andrew just for a moment. And the reason is, and by the way, he'll have a tenure too, but the reason I want to talk about Andrew is he is the first individual over North America in quite a long time that truly understands the value of us. And he thinks about this. I want to be in perspective. Remember now, Young Living is a manufacturing company. They manufacture oils. They're an agricultural manufacturing. They grow the stuff, then they manufacture oils. That's what they do. The only way that goes to market, the only way that Gary's dream comes into being is by us selling. I know where I said that four-letter word, forgive me. I want to say sharing, but us selling. All right, y'all hear where I'm going. Nothing happens in any company until somebody sells the product. Y'all hear what I just said. Andrew understands in this company who sells. That be us. And so his focus, his attention to us is so crazy good. I have such high hopes. You need to hear that, because the rest of corp is trying to figure out how to make the oils, how to figure out to get the IT to work. I mean, they got all these operational issues to go through, how to get the supply chain fixed. Andrew says, gosh, Tammy, what do you need? Diane, what do you need? That's where his focus is, and it's really, really powerful. Okay, that was my delay to help you out. For those that are listening and hanging in there, I think if you haven't got by now how valuable, how important it is to have that word for you to rally on for the year, you're hearing it right now. Donna, your one word coming out of that convention, out of that meeting and for the year of 2022.
So my one word coming out of that meeting is the word family. I feel like over the past couple of years, we've almost like butted heads on so many things and we weren't really on the same team. Looking back now, I think we were going through a refining, just like you would in a family. That family that sticks together and doesn't bell, those relationships become so much stronger. And now I see stories and education that's about to come out and all of these things that's getting back to the roots of our family. And I am so excited.
Boom. Sarah, you me, girl. What's your word, Sarah?
My word is future, Eric. I would say without a doubt, being able to do the kickoff at corporate and just hear all the exciting things that are coming to Young Living's future, and then having Kristen Boss just like hammer that point in by saying the best things that will ever happen in Young Living are the ones that are coming for our future. The best is not behind us. We aren't defined by like, oh, it's already happened. It's in front of us and it's coming and it's in the future. And I think Young Living did a really great job of showing us a future to be excited about and future things that are coming that we will want to share with so many people we already know and people we're going to meet in the future.
Wow, so cool. Lindsay, your word coming out.
I think of growth and just preparing for growth, that we're just in a season, kind of like how Donna mentioned before, of stepping into like improving that self-concept and stepping into the leaders and the people that we are. So I feel like we've gone through this refining season, and so many people refer to it as growing pains of just before, like, you know, the huge expansion of the company. So now I feel like we're in this season where we're walking into growth. Get ready to receive the growth, prepare yourself for growth, equip and empower your teams for growth. So that we're ready to receive, you know, like we've gone through the refining, we're continuing to. So I just see it in every definition of the term, like ourselves, the company, we're just preparing for big things, and legacy, like was mentioned too.
It's funny. One of the people that I found out later from my daughter had showed up was Lindsay Moreno. And I haven't seen Lindsay in a couple of years. And she's a good friend of my daughter. So I wish I had seen her. She was, think about this, 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago now, when she came on board Young Living. And here's the revenue curve. And then Lindsay came. That's the revenue curve of Young Living. It's at that moment. Okay. She was the most amazing change agent I've ever met. And I really feel that right now it's going to take your curiosity. It's going to take the family around you. It's going to take the words and the spirit of being greater. It's going to take this thought process of looking into the future that we're going to win and preparing yourself to grow. And what it will take is to be a change agent, because we're at a pivot point, I believe, for all of our businesses right now. And I don't know that it's going to be bringing social media to Young Living. I don't know what that change is, but this year I'm just going to focus on being that change agent with everyone that I talk with and what that looks like. So I really think this is a year of change. As the entire world is waiting for this pandemic to end, we can't wait. We can't wait. We have to be the difference maker. Well, I hope this was of value to everybody. I think you got a chance to hear from some people that went to something special, and you had a chance to hear from them directly, not through a post or through a pretty picture, a couple of quotes from Kristen. No, they actually got to hear from them, hear their voice, hear their passion, and get a little bit of what it's like, which should really get you excited about what would it look like to go to convention this year? What would it look like to do that? What would it look like to bring my team with you so we could have some incredible meetings while they're in person? Also, what would it look like to have our virtual teams be a part of it, not orphaned out, but be a part of it, and have that energy go throughout your entire team, in person and virtual?